Welcome back to another week of Real True Facts, the Real True Podcast. My name is Luann Platter.
And I am Irvin Johnson. Not that one.
Not that one. Hi, Irving.
Hello, how are you this week?
I'm doing great. I got a fun one for you today. We might as well be a Prius, because today we're talking about human-alien hybrids.
Oh, I get it.
You get it?
Human-alien hybrids, not just the cars or,
Yeah.
I guess I can't really think, maybe bees?
Bees?
Yeah, being the next most popular hybrid.
Yeah.
I don't have a very long list of hybrids.
No. So today we're talking about probably the most important one that I can think of, which is the human-alien kind.
Right, and what excites me about this is it touches so many different parts of alien news, whether it's, abductions. Sometimes those are, their people are abducted to, put an alien fetus in a human, aliens being among us, which we've learned before, and interacting with humans here on Earth. So I feel like it's really interesting because it has so many touch points within, the alien news.
Yeah, and it's so interesting to me because I often wonder about alien abductions because, we know they're among us. We know that they are here. They've been here a long time. They go back all the way to ancient Egypt, maybe even before that. So I always wonder what's still with the abductions. What is that for? And then you have instances where people are coming back and now they are pregnant, maybe they have an implant, so maybe they're working on their own project. But today I'll be very fascinated to get into the purpose behind abductions and what we might be able to learn from them and figure out what aliens want with us.
Yes, I think, there's a lot of technology behind this. Technology, biology. So that's why we have I guess, one of our more science-heavy episodes this week, but that doesn't mean it won't be fun.
Yeah, we're going to have some fun, too. And back with us today, later in the show, will be Dr. Semor. He wasn't here last week, so we thought we'd have him for the full episode because all of you beautiful listeners deserve all of the Dr. Semor that you can handle. So he is here with us today talking about alien hybrids. But first, I want to talk about this article that you sent me a few days ago in preparation for this show.
Yeah, so this is actually from, again, a reputable source such as ourselves here on Real True Facts. You may have heard of this one, Popular Mechanics. But archaeologists found a 115,000-year-old footprint. Is that right?
Yeah, it was, incredibly old. The most important thing to note about it is that they say it's where it shouldn't be.
Yep, I agree 100%. That's what sticks out to me. And this happens every once in a while. And so they just kind of go back and rethink all their science and try and put the puzzle back together with the pieces in a different order when the most obvious answer is staring us all in the face that it's a humanoid alien.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got to be. I mean, if we look at the theme of the article, they're saying these fossilized footprints, I believe in Saudi Arabia, were there showing human traffic on the cusp of the Ice Age. So this was after dinosaurs, and this is the dawn of man here. This is the Ice Age. And they're using carbon dating to calculate the exact age of the fossils, but they were surrounded by animals. So it was humans and animals together. And they're saying these weren't hunted animals. These were maybe pets, maybe companions. The article says that maybe this was where water was, that they would all gather there for water. So if you have human and animal footprints together, to me that just says companionship. So we might be looking at an alien hybrid here, especially if it's a bipedal animal too. The article doesn't say if it's a quadruped or a biped, but it could be an alien there. But they're trying to explain all this stuff. It's like the obvious answer usually is the right one, and to me that is aliens.
Yeah, because they immediately point out that they immediately say that it's a human footprint, and but then or after that it goes to now we need to rewrite the history on human migration, and
do we really need to go that far though? To rewrite the entire history? Exactly,
when the easier and most obvious, as you said, answer is that this isn't a traditional human footprint. It just doesn't make sense for, humans to pop up out of nowhere here and there all over the earth. That's just not how we work. However, we already know that's a bit of an alien MO. Mm-hmm.
Especially if there aren't any footprints really leading up to that area. It's not like they have found tracks thinking, oh, this is like a common path. Especially if there was water there, wouldn't it be a common path that other mammals would have traveled to go to water? So where are the footprints surrounding that area? If we just have human footprints in one isolated area, to me it sounds like they've been dropped in. They've been dropped in from somewhere.
Yeah, in one way or another. We know that, aliens have always been far advanced when it comes to technology and transportation. So just one of their various ways to just pop in, and they sometimes leave a trace.
Yeah,
and
pick somebody up and then, take them wherever and then bring them back.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up this article because it could very well have been a human-alien hybrid, which, that's going to be difficult to tell the difference.
Yeah.
But the evidence certainly points to it being alien life. It's pretty blatant.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm interested to get into that. Are there any things interesting you that we want to make sure to bring up? Like, what is your most important thing that you want to get answered today?
With Dr. Semor?
Yeah.
I think it's maybe the viability of humans as incubators. Mm-hmm. I guess I have two. It's, humans as incubators, not only female, but possibly male.
Sure.
That and the technology of implants.
Yeah.
Implants being used to track or communicate or even control. Mm-hmm. Geez, now that I think about it, we could do a whole episode on implants, and a whole episode on incubation, but that, we need to start somewhere, right?
Yeah, we'll start here. We'll just consider this part 2 in our Aliens Among Us series, because we know that every time we talk about aliens, we're just scratching the surface. We're nothing is ever definitive with that, because we learn so much all the time, and people are discovering so many things. So we just try and stay current for everybody here. But yeah, we'll get into hybrids today. Why don't we take a quick little break, and when we come back, we will talk to Dr. Semor.
We're back after a short break here on Real True Facts, talking about human-alien hybrids. And Luann, before we went to the break, you asked me if I had any hot topics to bring up with Dr. Semor, but we didn't get time for me to throw that back at you. So we're about to bring in Dr. Semor, but is there something that, a single question or two that you want to make sure we address?
Well, I'm kind of a panicky person just by nature. So my ultimate question is if we have anything to be afraid of. I know when...
We're back after a short break here on Real True Facts. This week we are discussing human-alien hybrids. We have Dr. Semor back this week. We're going to bring him in from his science bunker momentarily. But before we do that, Luann, we didn't quite get to this before the break. You asked me if I had any burning questions for Dr. Semor, and I had, one or two. What about you?
Yeah, I want to know if there's anything that we as humans need to be afraid of, as these instances become more frequent and we learn more. And I mean, if we know that there's aliens among us, chances are they know that we know. So are we in danger even talking about this? Is it a dangerous thing to, ponder these things or learn more, especially about implants? It's like, I'm always just a little panicky about the things that I don't really know about. So I guess my biggest question is, are we safe?
Okay, yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you know what? Without further ado, why don't you just hack that
Oh,
mainframe and
yeah.
we can bring Dr. Seymour up.
Get that mainframe hacked. All right, let's see. Dr. Seymour, are you here?
I am here. Hello, Luann and Irvin.
Yeah.
Hello, welcome back. I mean, before we get into alien-human hybrids, I have to ask, what's been going on in the lab? I know you've been super busy, but what have you been up to?
Well, we had a major breakthrough followed by a couple minor catastrophes.
Wow.
But we're back on track. It turns out the breakthrough was the start of the catastrophe, and then it wasn't so bad, and here we are again, just with the scientific method where we're back at square one, but we're approaching it all anew. Kind of the way you don't want to get there. That's how we got there.
Yeah, last week you weren't here. We talked about the Bermuda Triangle, and we spoke with our government contractor, Joe Duke, and he was talking about science being used as weapons and things being developed to be weaponized. And I brought up that whenever you're not around and you're in the lab talking about secret stuff, I always fear that things are becoming weaponized that we don't know about. So hopefully all of the experiments that you're doing are not nefarious.
Oh no, we're still on the up and up, and I was checking on the show when I'm not available to talk, and it was great to hear from that. But when you there was it gave me a chuckle knowing although top secret, nothing close to what the government's trying to pull off, or trying to the wool they're trying to pull over our eyes there with the Bermuda Triangle.
Wow.
Going on in my lab.
Yeah, I have to say, after that episode, it felt like Mr. Duke was the yin to your yang. All of your experiments are often for the betterment of mankind, moving science and progress forward. And, he's been involved with the government for so long that it's just kind of a matter of power, leverage, money, control. And, and that we kind of had that. That's my personal vibe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we're happy to have you here today. So our topic today, which we're very happy to get your input on, we know that, and our listeners too have been with us since day one. You have a very extensive background in a lot of the stuff, especially with biology, anthropology, chemistry, general badassery. So we're talking today about alien hybrids. Have you experienced anything like that in your research?
Yes, we've talked to aliens before, and the notion of the hybrid is very interesting. Because with so much interaction that we know, it hasn't just been a close encounter here or there. It's been decades, nay, probably millennia of interaction between us, that in several different ways there's been kind of some chances for the aliens to I guess infiltrate the human race in different ways, and with hybrids, with obviously just living among us, but also taking on our traits and allowing us to do the same with them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's interesting. It sounds like it was almost just a matter of time for this to happen, and that there are kind of different kinds of hybrids. Obviously, uh, any kind of similar species that's going to interact with us for millennia, there will be that give and take and that blending. And possible cross pollination, if you will, which we've actually, interestingly enough, I think we've addressed on some of our other episodes with different kind of cryptids, I believe.
Yes, definitely. Like we've talked about the different human-like species around Earth, and I think with a lot of those, we think of humans as the superior, the alpha in those circumstances. But really, the with aliens, we're definitely more the experiment than the experimenter, at least in the cases that I've seen.
So in those cases, are we looking at more of maybe alien scientists coming down to perform their own experiments, or are we dealing with more of like a teenager sticking his finger in a petri dish kind of thing? Like, is there a purpose to it, or is it just sort of haphazard?
I think from the most of the circumstances that I've been able to try to track down, the easiest metaphor is kind of it was a scientist, kind of a Jane Goodall situation, trying to live amongst the humans, learn from them, and in that circumstance, like it would be one thing to just to come live here, but it's totally another to allow and to create that hybrid that starts to experience the human life, but understands it in an alien, in a more alien way.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. Jane Goodall of Aliens. That makes, again, it makes so much more sense than, than some of the wild theories. But some of the wild theories, I have to wonder, when it comes to maybe alien abduction and, picking us up and then folks coming back with either being pregnant with what they think is a human or possibly an alien. And that kind of leads me to one of my questions that I mentioned earlier. How easy is that for, someone or some intelligent being to put a fetus, or I don't know what an alien fetus would
Embryos,
be called.
Maybe?
Yeah, an embryo into a human female or even human male for lack of a better, for gestation. How easy is that? I mean, obviously aliens are scientifically advanced, but we're pretty close to that, aren't we?
Yes, it's not too different, at least when we're talking about the human female, from a test tube baby, if you will, and we've been doing that for decades here with human babies. So with the far advanced technology of the aliens, being able to accomplish that with minimal invasiveness, minimal memory of the host mother is a very very simple thing to do. It does become trickier with males, but mostly only the trickiness is limited to what we define as, let's say, an alien, a human, and birth, if you will. If the male is the host, we're not going to see the birth of the offspring in the same way that we would observe a baby being born from a woman.
Okay. Right. So in that case, if it were a male, maybe they would come back down. That's why some people have been abducted more than once. Males,
yeah.
right? Yeah, male, you have to come back down and take it out.
Yeah.
Whereas a female, you could probably just let it, pop out here on Earth.
Yeah. Well, it makes me think that there are enough similarities between their biology and ours for it to be a viable pregnancy in a female. But now we're looking at something that is completely different, that they're able to use even a male body as this incubator host body, maybe. I mean, we see this in movies all the time where it's like, oh, it needs a host. It needs a host. It's like, well, I guess there's some truth into that, but maybe it's not as violent as the media would have us believe.
Yes, and with some of this, and I think it's a matter of comfort, and it even is to myself in many ways. We like to imagine aliens as very humanoid, and countless data points that so many are, but they're just like there's a whole variety of life here on Earth. There's an even bigger variety in space, and some of those aliens are not humanoid at all. So the birth wouldn't be there, the fetus, the baby, and even the full-grown alien would have a lot of different traits, and the host father, it may not, be a growing in a sexual organ and a need for a birth. It could be living in another part of the body and come out, to put it politely, another way after a much shorter incubation period.
Well, I think about how we have organisms, and I'll use the word that I learned from you many episodes ago, biomes. We have organisms that live on our body. We've got mites. We've got these little bugs that live in our eyelashes. That's a thing. So it's like, I guess in order to be a carrier of life, you wouldn't necessarily have to birth it in the traditional sense.
Yes, very true. Once again, it's not something we would maybe consider a hybrid, because it's an equal mix of two things.
Sure.
But if the alien needed a temporary host, a way to travel here, a way to become acclimated to the Earth, and did so in a male human being, and then was once it became mature, left that human's body from the most convenient route that was a way out of the body that maybe the host didn't know, didn't notice specifically, then we would still, although very different, we might consider that the father, and still an interesting sort of hybrid.
Yeah, and you know what? I think this conversation actually answers a large part of my other question, which was these implants. Because I just kind of put myself in the alien shoes. If I, came down and, put one of my embryo or fetus or another living organism, I'd want to keep track of that, whether it's monitoring the health or just location. I'd put a small tracking device in there. So that doesn't even seem strange now that I think about it from, another being's point of view.
I mean, think about how we interact with dolphins, and at a marine biology center, those dolphins, other animals, they have tags. And they have trackers, so they are free to come and go as they please if it's a very large facility. But the scientists are always able to keep track of them to monitor their health. If they're sick, they can bring them back in. They can rehabilitate them to put them back in the wild. So it just, when you just say it straight out, like, oh, aliens are putting implants in us, it's like, that sounds very scary. But when you think about it in the terms of like the people with implants might actually be hybrids. They might be hybrids themselves and not know, or maybe they gave birth to a hybrid. It's like they're being monitored maybe for health purposes.
Yeah, and we just, I mean, like dolphins, we just have a little bit larger cage. Ours is, the entire Earth. It's
Yeah.
large to us, but maybe to these other beings, it's, some of them probably feel sorry for us.
Yeah, like all this tiny planet they live on. Oh, they need some
Well,
help.
Yeah, well, we're zapping all over the galaxies and the universe.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Maybe they feel bad for us.
I imagine some of them do. Again,
Yeah.
putting myself in their shoes, I'd have to feel sorry for us at times.
Yeah.
And on that note, why don't we take a quick break and come right back and get down and dirty with alien hybrids.
Sounds good. Welcome back from a short break on Real True Facts. We are here today with Dr. Semor talking about alien hybrids. Great stuff in the first segment. I feel like a lot of my questions and definitely a lot of my fears have been put to rest. A lot of my questions have been answered. So I'm actually very excited to get into this second round of questioning here.
Yeah, I have to ask. So you mentioned earlier, Luann, that you were worried.
Yeah.
And I kind of took us on a different track with the abduction and implant stuff, but I want to maybe take a step back and go back to aliens among us for so many years, maybe creating hybrids in a more traditional way. As I said, we've discussed this before, where another being would have intercourse with a human and the offspring would be something entirely new,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I mean, I've seen so many movies where this happens and the results are disastrous. And so I guess my next question will probably be like, and we ask this a lot on the show, it's like, who's getting it right? I think maybe Hollywood is making me afraid of something that I don't necessarily need to be afraid of.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what would be interesting about a movie where everything just went well.
Yeah.
An alien and human, and then their offspring, and everything turned out okay. You have to have some sort of conflict.
Yeah.
That's why we see disaster movies or, superhero movies. They're always fighting something. I think I would hope that's that would be the exception when we see a movie.
Yeah.
I can't even think of any TV shows or movies, but I'm
my
not
gosh.
that well versed.
I mean, we've got obviously the classic Alien and Aliens. I think in Aliens, Ripley is pregnant in that one, and then we've got the face huggers, and they need a host body, and they kill the host body. And then when I thought hybrid, I thought of this terrible movie that I saw so many years ago. I only saw it once because it was so bad, but it was called Splice, and I think Adrian Brody was in it, and he played like a rogue scientist. So he's like a rogue scientist, And there was a human alien hybrid that in the beginning seemed very gentle and sweet, almost very like a toddler, and then as it aged it became very aggressive and they couldn't control it, and it destroyed everything, and it, had all these terrible, had like a blade at the end of its tail and it would just stab everybody. It was like it was awful. So that's like that's where my education of these things is coming from.
That's interesting because for some reason I immediately thought of romantic entanglements, but I couldn't think of aliens, so I just kept thinking of Terminator 1 and 2, a lady falling in love with a robot and then maybe creating a hybrid there. But obviously that's...
that's another thing.
Yeah, those are a little bit old school robots, so that might not work as well.
Yeah.
But that kind of brings up the whole ancestry, DNA kind of question. And I have to ask Dr. Semor, this is... I think it's pretty popular right now, people doing those DNA kits and background things. Have you encountered any DNA work in all of your studies that would show if someone had, a relative in the past that was not human or, and maybe even of alien origin?
Oh, that is a great question because, as you said, it's such a popular question now. You can even, for $49.99, send your dog's hair in and find out their genealogy or whatever we're doing now. But it's been something we've been chasing and just haven't quite gotten there yet. We're not sure if there's been some intentional kind of ducking of the DNA tests by those of alien origin and alien descent, or if there is just so much crossover within the way that they are able to maybe take the more humanoid form that we don't notice it. It's a big challenge. I mean, when we're looking from a DNA sense, I forget the numbers exactly, but 99.9% the same as an orangutan and maybe 97% the same DNA as a banana. So when you're looking for that last few percent, we might expect an alien to stick out like a sore thumb, but either by chance or by alien intent, it hasn't shown itself yet.
Yeah, because the numbers that we're dealing with are just so high, and what are we looking for? It's hard to find something if you don't know what you're looking for.
Yeah, I think that might be intentional on their part, because I think if you have someone that sticks out or they're too remarkable, I think that they get a lot of attention. And then you have peak athletes like Michael Phelps and setting records, or you have musicians like David Bowie or Prince, or just people that are just so remarkable. You think, how are you human? And it's like, well, those people just may not have been. They may have been a hybrid.
Yeah, and to multiple different percentages, right? They may be half, just one and one. Their parent was off planet, but it could we know they've been around for so long.
Yeah.
It could be 164th or whatever. My multiples of aren't that great when it comes to genealogy or just math in general.
Yeah.
Yes, one of the classic ones that we have so much reason to believe, and when you say like DNA, we've been doing so much. There's been so much testing with this, but it's kind of turned into its own controversy. There was Lance Armstrong and his performance with the bicycling there, and so much also. There's just so much controversy around that with his performance, and then the accusations of performance enhancing, and the blood samples just aren't matching up, and then the cancer. And I think I would be shocked if there isn't at least a 1/4 hybrid going on there, and the whole
some kind of mutation.
Sheryl Crow circumstance there, that whole breakup, trying to some higher power trying to get him back out of the limelight or out of humans' favor.
Yeah, Sheryl Crow, yeah.
Because who else has that kind of performance, recovers so easily from cancer, and even, that I think that's a great example, because it's not only high performance and, limelight and celebrity, but there are a lot of blood tests that just things don't match up, and they can't just say, oh, well, this DNA isn't lining up because he's an alien human hybrid. We just have to throw out other excuses that don't line up.
And then you look at the with the media reports, and it's like, okay, well, he has said he didn't use performance enhancing drugs. The drug test came back positive, but he's denying it. It's like it would be so hard, especially if you weren't using stuff like that, to say, well, of course it's going to come back positive because my blood isn't completely human.
Right.
So maybe in the instance of other people, allegedly using performance-enhancing drugs, if that comes back from a blood test or a urine test and they hadn't been, that may even be news to them. They may not even know that they're a hybrid, but you get a positive test even when you haven't been using that stuff. That's going to be quite the shock.
Yes, and then as Dr. Seymour mentioned, there all these external influences. These whether it's other beings here among us or they came back down. One of their best specimens and said, "Hey, we need you to say," or you know what? They probably don't even have to use words to convince him. I'm sure they have other methods at this
Yeah,
point.
he probably has an implant that they send Morse code down through, and then he knows what to say.
Yeah, change his story. Why else are you going to change your story? Deny and then change and then, get married to famous people. It's just a lot of it doesn't add up
Yeah.
until,
Yes.
that's what I love about Real True Facts is these revelations where everything falls into place.
It makes so much sense now.
And that's one thing we do so well. So we know there are different kinds of alien hybrids, and we know they're among us, they're not among us, and I think that's what we learn every week. And I think that also lends itself to, are they going to hurt us? Are they going to help us? Just a matter of good and evil. There are good ones and there are bad ones, right? Just like Bigfoot and, all these other creatures out there. Some of them do want to hurt us, but some of them want to help us. Yeah. It's not just black and white. Aliens are bad.
No. I mean,
aliens are good.
Especially if they're hybrids. Humans, we know that there's a lot of gray area with us. There's good ones and there's bad ones. So, logically speaking, the hybrids would be the exact same way. I'd like to ask Dr. Seymour, have you worked directly with any hybrids that you know of?
I have not worked with any that I know of, and obviously that last qualifier is a very important one there. It's as we said, like some may not know it themselves. And maybe some who are aware of it themselves are intentionally hiding it for their own protection, for the protection of whatever they're trying to accomplish, for advantage, as we understand that they would have some either physical, mental, or social other advantages. So to play that close to the vest and just to seem better than others would be definitely something to keep secret. So it would be shocking if there wasn't hybrids high up in the scientific community, but it's so hard to distinguish.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that's kind of my next question, but it's so difficult. My thought is, well, is there anything? Are there any indicators? But what does that mean? Is there any indicator of someone not being all human? That's so difficult. We had some kind of big picture or some stuff that made sense with Lance Armstrong. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering, I guess it would be kind of physical, mental performance.
Talent.
Appearance, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And as we know, the better looking you are, so if your appearance is better, you are inherently more trustworthy. Yeah. Right. So it just all adds up, and they are among us. And this is early, we're just starting to understand them, and I think we have a ways to go.
Yeah, I mean, I can easily see why aliens, especially alien scientists or, the Jane Goodall type aliens would want to come down and study us. The hybrids might be an attempt to make us better. Maybe they're studying us. They see all of these weaknesses that we have, nearsightedness. We're slow, we're sluggish. So, they do a hybrid, and so they've made some of us really fast, or we have really good eyesight. I think about all these athletes that are just so strong and fast. It's like this could be an attempt for aliens to improve upon some kind of biological design that they find inferior.
Yeah, really push the limits, I think.
So the question that we ask very frequently on this show is sort of a tradition now, is sort of our last question of the interview is what do we do if we encounter an alien hybrid, and in the sense of maybe being an incubator for maybe an alien fetus or something like that. It's like, how do you protect yourself from yourself?
So if one finds themselves as, or believes themselves to be a host, maybe through an abduction scenario, probably the safest thing to do is to carry forward and do their best to birth the alien, the hybrid, because although we have said countless times that in most circumstances aliens mean us no harm, and so much of our discussion has been centered around that even in this episode, if a being has the ability to abduct you and impregnate you, however that happens, and you try to do something about it, I would hesitate to believe that you as the host is in control of that circumstance. But what you do need to know is it's been happening for generations and only for the better, based upon our knowledge.
Right.
Yeah, every now and then you might get an ugly baby, but maybe that ugly baby is going to be a really fast biker. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I think everyone wants their child to be gifted. I think in that case, that's just been happening forever. And when people have kids and they're really proud of them and they put the bumper stickers on their cars, it's like you see these instances of remarkable children. It's like, well, newsflash, it's probably an alien hybrid. So I guess you be proud. Be proud of that fact.
Yeah, and just don't have fear, because I was, with my background, I don't have the same scientific and medical background that Dr. Semor does, so my immediate thought process was seek a medical professional. Yeah. But you know what? Now that I think it through, if I did that, who knows where I would end up, in some lab, or the government would take me, I'd end up in Mr. Duke's control. Mm-hmm. So I have to agree with Dr. Semor's, cautionary advice or self-defense against oneself in this case.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel better about it. I started in the show kind of afraid because here I am thinking of, these images I've seen in movies, but I didn't stop to think of the positive things that have come from it and the wonderful musicians and artists and athletes that we have that have contributed so much to our society and have enriched our lives in that way, that they themselves may be hybrids.
Yeah, and just because, we've seen the Fast and Furious 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you're not going to stop driving a car. Right.
If anything, I want to drive more cars and cooler cars. You want to emulate that stuff. So
yeah, so there are going to be car accidents, but there are also going to be good things, Yeah,
that makes me feel good about it all. Except maybe the implant thing. I don't know about that. Still, I'm on the fence about the implant, but if it's not giving anybody any issues, we probably don't even know it's there. So I guess there's no reason to worry. Yep.
And I just want to thank you again, Dr. Semor, for being able to join us with your busy schedule there in the lab. So thanks again for joining us this week.
Yes, always a pleasure. It was a great conversation, and definitely happy to get all the information out there. And
yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing. We're here to provide our public service and get those real true facts out there for you listeners. So thank you again to Dr. Semor. I'm going to send him back down to the science bunker. Thank you. And let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll open up our Real True Facts mailbag. Welcome back from our final break on Real True Facts. Let's go ahead and open up our mailbag today.
Yes, I actually, there was one particular letter that stuck out to me, so I want to address this from Roger S. You guys normally cover the weirder monsters. It's I don't know how I get these handwritten notes to my bunker.
Oh, it was mailed. Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I have trouble reading the
okay,
handwriting.
yeah.
You guys normally cover the weirder monsters. Why don't you talk about some of the more traditional ones?
Okay.
You guys cover some of the
weirder one. I wonder
I think that's what that word is.
A weirder, yeah.
monsters.
I don't
And
know.
that's I don't know about using the term monster. That's a bit.
The monster?
Yeah, just for him to call all these things monsters. I don't know. Maybe that's not fair to them, but
Maybe.
it does make me, it does inspire me to possibly do cover some of those traditional. I guess they're cryptids in this case.
Yeah, they are traditional. I mean, maybe he's just saying like, maybe Loch Ness is not traditional. Maybe like we brought up vampires before. I think during the one of the episodes we brought up Frankenstein's monster for the artificial intelligence. So that could be it. This is giving me an idea. October is right around the corner, and that means Halloween. So why don't we do a monster mash? How about for the month of October, we will do a episode each week about one of our classic monsters and do a fun monster mash. It'll be a graveyard smash.
Yeah, because as we've mentioned so many times before, these stories don't stick around for this long without having some truth to them, and maybe even for the last one or for one of them, we could do a poll on Instagram or something.
Yeah, that sounds good. So we'll pose the question to you. I mean, we've got a lot of classic monsters that we can talk about, and I think we probably have a good idea where we want to go. But listeners, if there's any monster that you want us to cover for the October Monster Mash, the Halloween Monster Mash, let us know. Hit us up on Instagram. I'll pose a question to our Instagram stories. If you follow us there, you can do that at Real True Facts Graham, and we'll put a little poll up if there's any monsters that you'd like to vote on, or if there's any ideas, message us, vote in the poll. We'll put that up next week, leading up to the episode, so we'll be able to figure that out. But if you have any other questions, if you want to talk to us about the Monster Mash, you can...
Or share your stories.
Yeah, share your stories, too. We'll read your stories on the air, too. Everyone loves a good ghost story, especially during Halloween, so... You can send us an email at mail@realtruefactspodcast.com, and we'll get that directly.
Yep, and remember to listen to us on just about every platform out there, from Spotify to iTunes to Google Podcasts to even to YouTube. And I'll put that challenge out there. No one has bested us yet in naming a platform we are not currently on that you use to listen to podcasts.
Yeah, we are literally everywhere. So I think that'll do it for us. Tune in next week. We'll start our Monster Mash. That'll be a whole lot of fun. We get kind of serious on the show, but month of October, Halloween's my favorite time of year, so let's get spooky, let's have some fun, eat some candy, and talk about monsters. So thank you again to Dr. Semor. Thank you to my charming co-host. And thank you again to the listeners. Again, email us at mail@realtruefactspodcast.com. Follow us on Instagram at Real True Facts Graham. And we will see you next time. And, remember, keep questioning your world. Because just because you hear about it or read about it doesn't mean it's true. We'll see you next time.
Podmoth.